This movie is totally gonna be my entire personality for the next few weeks.
I'm worried you're not gonna find your people.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, Clark. I have no people.
Hi, I'm Matt and today I'll be reviewing the new Supergirl movie that just came out. It's the second movie entry of James Gunn's DCU and also technically a spin-off of Superman 2025. Cause I loved that movie last year so much, Supergirl was by far my most anticipated comic book movie project of the year. And yes, I was even more hyped for this movie than I am for Spiderman Brand New Day and Avengers Doomsday. So I really wanted this movie to be awesome. But was Supergirl's movie as hype as her cousin's movie entry? Or did it turn out to be DCU's first giant flop? Stay tuned to find out. First things first, I freaking called it. I call it now. When Supergirl underperformed at the box office because everybody in Mexico is watching the Soccer World Cup instead of going to the movie theaters, they are gonna start advertising Supergirl by making Krypto walk around in a Mexico soccer jersey. I knew they would put Krypto in a soccer football jersey to advertise this movie cause the marketing for the movie was fire and all, but I think it was a dumb idea to release it during the FIFA World Cup. It's so gonna hurt this movie's box office numbers cause everybody and their mother is gonna be more focused on this tournament than on the movies coming out in cinemas, especially in football-crazy countries like Mexico. And then I got doubly worried when I finally saw the first critic scores and harsh YouTube thumbnails before watching the movie. Especially this YouTube thumbnail of this guy got to me. I was like, oh no, is Supergirl gonna be mid? But then I finally watched it and I'm happy to inform you that I actually really like this movie. So let's get into it. Yes, this is gonna be a spoiler review video. My biggest worry going into it was that Supergirl would feel like a generic Marvel movie somehow. But thankfully, it did not follow the generic Marvel plot point formula. Far from it, actually. Some haters will say Supergirl feels like a worse Guardians of the Galaxy movie, but that's total BS. The only similarities I see are that both movies take place mostly in space and that the Brigands visually look similar to the Ravagers, but that's about it. One reason the critics might have had a hard time with this movie was because of its non-linear storytelling. This movie jumps a lot of hoops and feels messy at times. For example, in between the movie, we get a lot of flashbacks to Supergirl's backstory Arrow style. This is in some way an origin story, even though personally I wouldn't call it that, cause the main plot isn't about her origin. Talking about that, we now know why Supergirl didn't warn Clark about his parents being evil and stuff. It was cause it was impossible for her to know. In this movie, we finally see Krypton blowing up, and this version of Kara-Zor-El was not born on Krypton and was not sent with Clark to Earth during the planet's destruction. Clark's dad acted on his own, even though Supergirl's dad, I think, knew partially about it. Supergirl herself was born on Argo City, a fraction of Krypton that survived the explosion. Sadly, a few years later, while the entire population was slowly dying of poisoning, her father ended up sending her and Krypto to Earth, where Clark found her. Anyway, what is the actual plot of the movie about? At the start of the movie, we see Kara-Zor-El, aka Supergirl, totally lost in life, partying on a red sun planet during her birthday week till she gets forced into the plot by the villain poisoning Krypto. So the entire plot is about Supergirl fighting the villain with the antidote to save Krypto and stopping Ruthye, this girl, from killing the villain who has slaughtered her entire family at the beginning of the movie, cause that would haunt her for the rest of her life and not actually bring her any meaningful satisfaction or closure. Basically, Supergirl wanted to save this girl's soul from being tainted by such a horrible act and to make her understand that living her life and fulfilling her dreams would honor her fallen loved ones more than killing the guy who murdered them, an act that would even bring them back. As a Batman of Kill fan guy, I can get behind this message, even if Supergirl doesn't follow it herself cause she finishes the villain's life herself at the end of the movie before she returns to Krypto to give him the antidote. Usually, I'm against superheroes killing their villains, but Krem almost killed Krypto, a dog, one of the few things a villain can do to make me absolutely hate him. So my inner John Wick supports Supergirl's action on this one, and Krem can rot in hell for trying to kill Krypto for all I care. Like this also felt my friend I watched this movie with, who screamed multiple times at a similar scream, especially towards the end when the villain was defeated.
Kill that boy! Kill that boy! Kill that boy! Kill that boy! Kill him!
Maybe I should stop seeing her. Either way, the plot was pretty fun. It was basically an anti-revenge space plot adventure movie. Visuals were mostly okay, even though I wasn't a big fan of a lot of alien designs in this movie, and the action was beautiful to look at, even though this movie had no standout scenes like Superman. If I had to choose a favorite fighting action scene, it would be the one at the beginning in the space bus when Supergirl used a teleportation device to teleport away all the time to fight those space pirates before regaining her powers again with the yellow sun emerging. The final fight of Supergirl and Lobo against Krem and the Brigands was also very fun, but all Superman fighting scenes of his movie surpassed those ones by a lot, and the boss fighting scene felt more unique. Most characters' action felt believable and justified, except in the case of Supergirl sometimes. She felt way too trusting in this movie at times. That she got tricked by that random family who sold her out to Krem, I can kinda understand. Even though, especially as a woman, you should never accept drinks from strangers. But then she trusts shady looking people a little bit later to bring her closer to Krem, just for them to betray her too by kicking her out at a planet with a green sun, which apparently works like kryptonite, and she ends up heavily poisoned. That reminds me, the most convenient part of the movie was probably the green sun disappearing and the yellow sun appearing just in time to allow Supergirl to recover from the poisoning to finally win the day. These were actually already most of the big negatives I got about this movie. How were the characters? Alcock herself already won me over with her hilarious cameo in the Superman movie, and she has established herself by far as the best live-action Supergirl with this movie for me. I like Superman more, but I relate way more to Supergirl as a character. I also currently feel alone and directionless in life. In addition to my Supergirl arc, it doesn't help that I just entered a temporary Homelander arc, in which 90% of the friends I made during my last year are slowly leaving me one by returning to their countries.
Why does everyone keep leaving?
It was wholesome to see how Supergirl internalized the message of living her life and making the best out of it she gave to Ruthye herself by deciding to finally permanently live on Earth when at the start of the movie she refused to do so, cause she was still grieving her people's death and felt like she could never relate to people then find friends. That's why Krypto means so much to her, cause before meeting Ruthye, Krypto was all she had left from her home planet and was basically her only friend. Ruthye was okay. Her character was basically about vengeance, and to learn to accept that vengeance is not the way. Her house and Supergirl's relationship I actually really liked and reminded me of Batman's dynamic with his son Damian Wayne Robin from other media entries, who got trained to be a merciless killer by the Shadow League and whose inner demons Batman constantly has to tame. Actually, wouldn't mind a similar dynamic for those two characters for the upcoming Brave and the Bold movie. After Supergirl, the best character of the movie for me is Lobo. He has no business to be in this movie and he's pretty irrelevant to the plot. He basically gets written into the action by making him hunt one of the brigands cause a bounty is set on that guy's head. And he isn't even after Krem like Supergirl and Ruthye, but another random one. He just appears midway through and joins Supergirl in the fighting and hunts down his guy midway through the ending of the movie and dips. But I don't care. Jason Mamoa was hilarious in this movie as Lobo and this guy was born to play him. And Jason Mamoa had been a popular Lobo fan casting since forever. I swear I remember people were already fan casting him as Lobo during his Stargate Atlantis days. One of the main highlights of the movie was finally seeing him as a live action Lobo and going wild during the action scenes. Can't wait to see more of him. Who I'm glad we won't see more of is Krem, cause he was ugly to look at. Still don't get why they designed him to look like that. Apparently this is him in the source material and he looks way better in comic form. They did him dirty for this movie. At least they made him a ginger for this adaptation, I guess. As a villain he was okay though. He was basically a sadistic kind of guy who was in the villain business for the game, which I actually welcomed. Not all villains have to have complex backstories and motivations. Sometimes it's enough for the villain just to be pure evil, and that's okay.
I'm bad, and that's good. I will never be good, and that's not bad. There's no one I'd rather be than me.
He created sufficient urgency for the plot and was a formidable enough fighter when fighting Supergirl. So he was good enough of a villain to make this movie enjoyable. Finally, should you watch this movie in theaters? Hell yeah. I mean, Superman is a way better movie, but Supergirl is still a solid 8 out of 10 entry. Don't know why critics everywhere are so harsh on it. It's no masterpiece, but still much better than most Marvel movies out there. I had a lot of fun watching this, and if you like superhero movies and or Millie Alcock, so will you. Sorry for the long break. University and life kept me kinda busy, but now I should be able to be way more active on the channel again. Gonna drop more Supergirl content, everything Marvel and DC videos, and more before my Odyssey and Spiderman review videos drop. So, see ya!